What's going on, guys, and welcome back to Top 10 Nerd, the nerdiest page on the interwebs, pun intended. Superhero stories like to go above and beyond, literally, with the MCU getting more and more cosmic by the year, and rumors swirling around about the third Spider-Man movie bringing back Tobey McGuire and Andrew Garfield. It's easy to get confused with some of these stories or timelines. So, here to break down a handful of the web slingers' weirdest, I'm Taylor McWatters, and this is the top 10 Spider-Man stories that make no sense. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, well, consider this your cue. Kicking off the list at number 10, Sins Past. This 5-part storyline revealed that Gwen Stacy and Norman Osborn had an affair. Yeah, you heard me. To 2 children named Gabriel and Sarah. This one upset comic book fans quite a bit. So in The Amazing Spider-Man number 509, Peter gets this letter, right? And the letter is supposedly from a dead Gwen Stacy. Yeah, she's dead and gets a letter. The dead letter. Deader. I can't think of a pun there. That's the first. So Peter does a little detective work and runs some DNA tests on the letter. And he comes to find out that Gwen Stacy had actually given birth to twins. Her DNA was on the letter. This is happening. Mary Jane finally ends up filling Peter in on this dark secret, that Gwen Stacy had a secret affair with Norman Osborn 7 months before she died. Huh. Mary Jane even had a conversation with Norman about it, and she said she doesn't want Norman to take care of the kids, or else they're just gonna end up turning into another version of Harry Osborn. I mean, you got a point. Right off the bat though, Norman's exposure to the Green Goblin formula caused these kids to be born early, and they came out fully grown, and we see that in the comic. Also, ouch. Number 9, Amazing Spider-Man 100. Hey, it's Spider-Man, but he has 6 arms. Well, that's what happens when you ingest a chemical that's meant to neutralize your powers. Okay, well, as we see in almost every comic book ever, it doesn't go as planned. He grows 4 extra arms, having 6 in total. Yeah, 6 in total. Got it. I'm good. The only way to save this Spider-Man's dilemma is Michael Morbius's blood. So the 6-armed Spider-Man, or also known as the Man-Spider, which is pretty fitting at this point. Man-Spider is gross too. Like, imagine waking up and there's this just Peter Parker with all those legs, like, hey, you thirsty? I'd be like, Gia, stop. It kind of reminds me of Machamp. I mean, it's always nice to see your favorite hero get an upgrade, but sometimes it's a bit too weird. I don't know. Like, imagine if he had 6 arms in the movies. Like, that's so much sweat. He'd be fighting bad guys and kicking ass, but he would be so exhausted. That's 6 arms that he has to swing constantly. There'd be so much sweat. It would look like a Sprite commercial. People just dripping. I'm here for it. I kind of like it. I wish he stayed like that. He didn't, but I kind of wish he did. Number 8, Ultimate Spider-Man 66. So when you think of 2 superheroes swapping bodies, you think, oh, that must be entertaining. I mean, Fantastic Four: Rise of the Silver Surfer wasn't a great film by any means, but that concept was still pretty fun to play with. Well, with Spider-Man and Wolverine swapping bodies in Ultimate Spider-Man, things get weird. Very weird. So after Ultimate Spider-Man issue 66, Wolverine is now a total creep, more so than before. Now here's what happened. Mesmero switched their bodies up, so Peter was like, hey man, I really need you to go to school. Like, you are 15, we have to go, this is an important thing. So while Wolverine is in Peter's body, he at one point ends up kissing Mary Jane, and he even tried to sleep with her. And cue the jail. Where can we, is there a jail we can put this guy in? Let's put him in jail right now. Apparently all those walks to school in the morning made him realize that she truly is awesome. I mean, we always knew that, but he might have not. MJ told him that she wants to wait until they're older for that kind of thing, you know, that kind of thing. So thankfully, nothing happened. But this was for sure an issue or 2 we could have gone without. Trying to get that thought out of my brain. Find somebody your own age. Number 7, Toxic Love. Spider-Man Reign was issued in 2006, and it was quite interesting. So the 4-part story begins with an old Peter Parker, and many fans compared it to The Dark Knight Returns. Similar vibes for sure. Only difference is that in this story we have visions of a dead Mary Jane, and it's very disgusting. Sad old Peter Parker, no thank you. Plus, to make matters worse, so much worse, he actually caused her death in this issue. Yeah, how you ask? Well, his web shooter ended up giving Mary Jane cancer. And by web shooter I mean his, how do I say this? This is so weird. Number 6, Amazing Spider-Man 386. This one is neat. So right on the cover of this one, we see the text, the most cataclysmic events of Spider-Man's life begins in this issue. And I'd say that I agree with that. Peter's parents returned. Hooray! So in issue 365, we meet them again. Peter comes home and Aunt May's like, hey, I'm just in the kitchen with some new guests. And Peter's like, whoa, guests? Huh, I love guests. I wonder who it is. Are those my parents? Yes, only they were evil androids. Fun, I guess. So his parents were actually robots and they were feeding back intel about Peter back to Chameleon. So they were just lying to Peter, obviously, and they explained that they didn't die because they were putting in motion this secret government plan, even saying they were in a Russian prison camp for 20 years. I mean, sure, we'll believe that, I guess, if we have to. Chameleon created these fake parents for Green Goblin, who already knew Spider-Man's secret identity, so what's the point? We don't know. Number 5, Spider-Man 3. Yeah, I'm going to the film category for this one because I gotta get this one off my chest. Spider-Man 2 is arguably one of the best superhero movies ever. Not even just Spider-Man movies, like as a superhero movie, this kicked ass, in my ever so humble opinion. Then Spider-Man 3 came out in 2007, everyone's like, yeah, here we go. Trilogies, they rock. And suddenly no one gave a shit about Spider-Man anymore. Including the people who apparently made the movie, I don't know. Venom was absolutely butchered. Sandman retconned the entire first movie's main driving force to make Peter Parker become Spider-Man, changing the whole Uncle Ben dying situation. Great. The movie itself just had a weird tone. Like I felt like I was watching 3 different Spider-Man movies at the same time. And all 3 of them had this different direction and they just weren't complete. And they just jammed it all into one movie. Like I love Sam Raimi, but the dancing scene, we didn't need that. We didn't need that. I mean, thank you for the thousands of memes. You've definitely supplied us some comedy, but I'm really hoping this other Spider-Man 3 with Tom Holland doesn't go this route. They already have too much on their plate, I think, for this one movie. I mean, Sinister Six being rumored to be in the movie, and then all these other Spider-Man actors returning. Don't get greedy. Just let it go organically. We sat through Iron Man 3. We're gonna sit through 5 more Spider-Man movies if we have to. Take your time. Don't mess it up. Number 4, Spectacular Spider-Man 12. Okay, so back in 1976, we got to see a redneck superhero. And I wish I was joking. Kinda. Do I? I don't know. Spectacular Spider-Man issue 12 opens with Peter having a nice game of tennis with Flash Thompson. And then in comes trouble. Trouble in the shape of Brother Power and Sister Sun. And one thing leads to another and they join hands, and of course now they can shoot beams out of their chest, like Care Bear style. And then in comes Razorback, the superhero who speaks like Ruth Langmore, with that southern twang. Sorry, I'm gonna offend so many people with this one. Here we go. That southern twang. And to make matters even more weird, he looks like a pig, like that's the outfit that he went with. I hope I never see this guy in a Spider-Man movie. Or if I do, I'm playing him. I'm gonna be like, what you doing up there, sticky boy? Number 3, Spectacular Spider-Man Volume 2. Issue 16, that is. This one I wish I could forget existed. Leave my brain, go, just get out of here. So we've seen Peter Parker change with his powers. I mean, he doesn't need the glasses, he gets some abs, starts getting ripped, whatever, yada yada yada. But how about becoming an actual spider and laying eggs? So after a not so chill run-in with the Spider Queen, she injects some pretty nasty goop into Peter Parker. And then the next thing you know, Peter has like 2 extra eyes. And if that wasn't enough for you to feel sick to your stomach, he ends up becoming an actual spider and gives birth to Peter Parker. Okay. Ew, first of all, Peter comes out looking the exact same. I mean, he's naked and shredded. Awesome. So the point of this is useless, I guess. I mean, he's reborn with organic web shooting abilities, which I didn't like. Made me feel gross. Like in the first movie when you see him, it's like, what does that feel like coming out? Can't be pleasant. Probably like noodles, just noodles flying out of your veins. That's the grossest thing I've said on this channel. My favorite part has to be when he attends a Star Trek themed wedding, because those exist, and his disguise just happens to be perfect to mask what's going on in his life. Number 2, Attack of the Clones. No, not that one. The Clone Saga is one of the worst parts of the Spider-Man universe. Spider-Man far too long, rather. The story itself was a chore to keep up with fans. Characters coming back to life and dying again, it almost felt like a waste of time. Well, it definitely felt like a waste of time. The whole time you didn't know who the real Spider-Man was, but the story was so jam-packed full of this nonsense that it honestly got lost in this rubbish story. We didn't know if Peter or Ben was the clone, and they just kept dragging this one idea on, and in the end, it doesn't even matter. Linkin Park. And finally, for number 1 on our list, One More Day. This is a 4-issue story, but because of delays, it took 5 months to conclude. Love it, gotta love it. So of course that adds to the mix already with a not so well revived story. Okay, so the story begins in 2007 in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 544. And instead of the usual thugs or the enhanced scientist villain that Spider-Man usually faces, he makes a deal with the devil. The devil, of course, being Mephisto. So after Spider-Man revealed his identity in the Civil War storyline, people of course knew who he was, and now they're after him knowing his true identity, right? People want this guy dead, a lot of them. So after a bullet strikes Aunt May instead of Peter, he of course feels like he is to blame. So first, he goes to Iron Man to give him being the one who basically convinced Peter to reveal his identity. So he webs him up and gets all bad cop. It's actually pretty wild. So he talks to MJ in the next issue and explains how that bullet was meant for him. It's consuming him. Peter is feeling this guilt. Mephisto has entered the chat. Yeah, the devil shows up, offers a deal to Peter while Aunt May is currently dying. So MJ adds to this deal. She pitches basically the world will forget about Spider-Man's identity. Aunt May will live, but MJ and Peter will have never gotten married. So they hug one final time, and MJ explains that their love was always meant to be, and that whatever Mephisto does is unstoppable. And then, poof, the deal is sealed. The next day, Peter's like, oh man, another uneventful night, just the way I like it. And then that fast, all of that backstory was just gone. And fans weren't having it. Okay guys, thank you so much for sticking around till the end. I'm gonna list off a couple of comments from our last rodeo, top 10 worst things Iron Man has done. Okay, first one comes all the way from Frontal Lobe. They say, Taylor, my friend, thanks for being awesome and working so hard to keep us entertained. You are appreciated. No, man, you are appreciated. Thank you, Frontal Lobe. Amanda and I love this job. We love doing this, and we love hearing from you guys more than anything. It amps us up. Next one comes from Elizabeth. Just Elizabeth. They say, Iron Man, dude who has problems, like all of us. Damn, Elizabeth hitting facts, eh? Spitting facts about life, I hear you. Iron Man's problems though, I don't know. I would kill for most of Iron Man's problems. Those are like superhero problems. Those are good problems. Maybe not the crippling alcoholism or a palladium core poisoning, but you know, maybe like a rusty Iron Man suit. I could handle that. Nothing a little CLR can't fix. And our last comment is from Ivan Bernardo. They say, now I'm craving ramen, thanks a lot. Well, perfect timing, Ivan Bernardo, because we're at the end of our video. So go get that ramen nice and warm. Spice it up. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Before you head out, make sure your notifications are turned on. That way when we do our next live premiere, you guys can hop in the comments with us and I can respond to you live. Thanks again for watching Top 10 Nerd. I'm Taylor McWatters. Peace. Gave him Jesus. I tried to type it, I'm like, he's cancer, death. Yeah, his straight up gave MJ the big C. Cancer.